She is also the Vice Chair of the Subcommittee on Housing, Community and Development and Insurance. You are recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here. And Mayor Brown, sincere thank you to you and my condolences to those in your communities who have suffered so greatly. Thank you for being here with us. Of course, I want to start by saying that mass shootings and gun violence have a lot more direct impacts and much more tragic than what the economic impacts are, and those will always be more important. But of course, we are on Financial Services Committee, and we need to look at whatever impact these shootings are having on our communities, because it's important to stop them, which is why I have said for years on end, we need an assault weapons ban back in place. Just this year, Iowans have seen 3 people die outside a church in Ames very recently, 12 people shot in April in Cedar Rapids, and a 15-year-old killed and 2 others shot outside a high school in Des Moines, right in my district. That was just a few blocks from our state capitol. And unfortunately, I had a teletown hall a couple weeks ago where one of those students at East High School called asking what Congress had done and what Congress could do more so that we could fix this situation. And although I'm quite impressed that a 15-year-old is paying attention to politics and getting involved at such a young age, I almost started tearing up because it broke my heart that a 15-year-old had to call their congresswoman and say, what else can you do so I can feel safe and my family and my kids that I go to school with can feel safe? This is a tragedy of where we're at. So I'm thinking about these kids, and Dr. Singh, I want to ask you, you've studied the long-term economic impacts of school shootings on the students at these schools. I know this isn't going to be good news for us to hear, but what can you tell me about what you found?
So looking specifically at the long-term economic outcomes, I'll focus on some of my research along with some of the other academic papers on this issue. What these papers show that after shootings, and this could be shootings where there are no fatalities, there's increased absenteeism. The students who are exposed are more likely to repeat a grade. When we look at the medium-term educational effects of these shootings, these students are less likely to go to college, are less likely to complete college. And of course, this would have longer-term impacts. And this paper finds longer-term impacts on earnings and the likelihood of being employed. So there's exposed students are less likely to be employed, and their earnings are also lower at the ages of 24 to 26 years. So there are long-term economic effects for these students who are exposed to gun violence in schools. Thank you.
And are there steps that we can take to help there?
So in one of my studies, we analyzed the effect of Safe Passage program in Chicago. And the reason we were studying Chicago is, as most of us in this room know, the crime around schools is really high. So what the city of Chicago did was they placed guards around schools. And these guards are civilians. They are not police officers. And they are placed for like 2 to 3 hours in the morning and 2 to 3 hours in the afternoon. So basically during the arrival and dismissal times. And that helps reduce violent crime. And the program was effective. The effects persisted for even 3 years after the program was implemented. It was cost effective to do it because these are basically parents and adults from the community who are doing this community monitoring. And the idea was having these more eyes on the street might help reduce crime, basically deter students from loitering around. They go to school more, and it also helped improve attendance. So we not only see improvement in violent crime, but also that these students start going to school more often. So the obvious question is, what really is going on here, and why is this program effective? One of the conjectures that we come up with is because these are people from the community, they really know the students, and we find higher effects for the high school students. So they go to school, and instead of committing a crime or getting involved in criminal activities, they're attending the classes. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And we just have a bit of time here, but the impact of school shootings on property values absolutely has an impact. And Mr. Brother, I'm wondering if you can tell me, can you share what you found there? What is that impact on housing prices in areas where school shootings have happened?
Housing prices decreased by about 2.5%, usually on average. Again, the effect is pretty much permanent. The effect seems to be larger in the streets or localities close to the shooting, but the effect is also present for the rest of the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
The gentle lady's time has